Thank you for joining us to another episode of Z to Z. We're excited to have you on. We've got a great show for you today. Anthony Ayala, this is part 2 of a 4-part series with Mr. Ayala. He is the franchisee for F45 CrossFit. And we had the pleasure of meeting with him not too long ago, and he's updating us, going to bring some updates on what's going on with his franchise as he's building it. So yeah, we're like I said, this is part 2 of number 4. So we're excited to get him on and tell us the story of what he's going through now. Yeah, we just celebrated Christmas. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and is continuing to have a good Christmas, because it's today as I'm recording, it's a day after, and we had a great Christmas ourselves. And hey, Santa was good, can't complain. But we're looking forward to a brand new year coming up, which is this coming weekend. I can't believe it's already here. We've got some great stuff coming along the line for me personally, for Z to Z, our podcast. Just wanted to update you on a couple of things. Is this last couple of weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I was at the ToroCon from Toro Taxes franchise up in Las Vegas. They have their yearly ToroCon conference, and I had the opportunity and the privilege of speaking at that presentation, doing a presentation at that conference. And so it was a great opportunity to meet old friends and, of course, meet new ones as well. The company is growing tremendously, and I was excited to be there. Thank you, Nick Maldonado, Oscar, and Javier, for having me there, and the rest of the staff. It was a great conference. Really, really, truly enjoyed it. It was a great event, good turnout, good stuff with all the new franchisees. They're a great brand that's growing. They probably got well over 300 units across the nation. Hispanic-based franchise, Hispanic owned and ran. So yeah, they're doing good stuff. And then to keep with the Hispanic topic, I also had the privilege of becoming nominated for the Hispanic Leadership Conference Board at the International Franchise Association. It's just a tremendous honor to be on that board with some great minds and great people of franchising, Erica Garza, and a few others out there that are just doing tremendous work with the Hispanic population, Hispanic segment in franchising. So I'm looking forward to working with them and starting to get that. We're going to have our inaugural celebration meeting coming out, party, I guess, if you call it that, at the IFE, at the IFA coming in, which is going to be on the end of February. So looking forward to that. If you are attending the IFA this year in Las Vegas, I think it's going to be at the Mandalay Bay. Check us out. Let us know if you run into me. Give me a call if have me shoot me a text or whatever, an email, and then we'll get to the details of that. But we're looking forward to having our inaugural celebration for the Hispanic Leadership Conference, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to really be providing information to the Hispanic franchisor, Hispanic franchisees, and of course, put the message out on about franchising to the Hispanic demographic population, where I think it's really, really needed within our community to really expand the horizons of many Hispanic entrepreneurs. So I'm looking forward to working with that. But for right now, let's get started with Anthony Ayala. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say and all the great things that's happening. I know there's going to be some ups and downs to everything, but hey, listen, we're excited. We're all here in the same team. So let's go. Anthony, take it away. Welcome back to Z to Z. We're so excited to have Anthony Ayala back on the show again after about 3 months now. We're excited to hear about what's the latest and greatest is going on with the opening of his franchise, F45 CrossFit. Had the pleasure of touching base with him a little earlier today, and some exciting stuff is happening. We're almost to that finish line, I'm sure, and we can't really wait to hear what's going on, and especially on the Sunday, football Sunday. We won't talk about that too much, I know. So,
yeah, let's not get into that. Cowboys dropped the ball this morning. I can't believe it, but
we won't touch base on that. So I appreciate you taking the time out today and talking with me a little bit to catch up and get our listeners caught up with what you got going on. And I know that it's towards, obviously we got towards the end of the year, and I know that you had a goal to open up in 23. And I know we just, I just can't believe we're just a few weeks away from that. And catch us up what's going on. I know from the last time we talked, you had just officially signed the lease, and you were beginning to construction. So let us know where you're at now.
Yeah, Louis. There has been so much that has occurred just in these last 3 months, from signing the lease to now where we're at in construction. I will say, in terms of today, construction has probably been the best part of what's been going on. A lot of ups and downs, but construction has been quicker than what was expected, which is good. I was actually there this morning after I got done with a run this morning. I went to swing by just to check out the progress, and they've finished all the paint inside. They finished all the demo. They've finished all the electrical, all the plumbing. Everything is basically ahead of schedule, which is super cool to see. I think they just have to do some finishing touches once the equipment arrives to get the training floor up and going.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great, because I know that especially now in these times, it's very hard to find a construction crew that has the talent to do the work and the time to do the work. Right. So, how difficult was it to find this particular crew?
Yeah, so fortunately, when I was going into induction, which is their training up in Austin, there was a few people there that were in the Phoenix area, so they kind of had told me about a couple of the contractors that were in the area that they've heard from other franchise owners. And this one in particular, they did maybe about 5 or 6 other studios here in the Phoenix area. So I did connect with them, but I didn't know at the time that they were going to be the ones I was going to choose, because I obviously wanted to vet out some other contractors.
Right.
So I did about 3 or 4, and it just so happened that these contractors, they had not only the best rate, but they were the most efficient, and they could get in whenever I wanted them to. And their timeline was the shortest out of everyone. They don't cut corners; they just know what they're doing. So fortunately, finding these contractors wasn't so hard. And it was actually probably kind of like I said, the best thing so far out of this process has been working with the contractors.
Yeah, I know. It's funny you say that, because usually it's the worst part of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Usually it's are they there? They're never there. Why didn't you show up? All this stuff that could happen, right? And then the shoddy workmanship, God forbid that happens.
Yeah.
And then secondary to that is the city permitting and everything, and then architecture. How was the permitting process?
Oh wow! So that goes to the other side. Kind of the kind of the downfalls of this whole process was actually the permitting, and then the architectural issues that I ran into. Permitting, unfortunately, for the city took longer than I anticipated it was going to take. It took, I guess, in relation to other areas, maybe not too long, but given how short of a timeline I was at, and I don't know, maybe a month ago or so.
Right.
I barely got my permits. I want to say, I don't remember if it was right before things. No, it was the Monday right after Thanksgiving when I officially got the permit. And that wasn't supposed to be the case. It was actually, so my architect was the one that submitted the application for it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into too much on who exactly I'm working with, but they basically gave me the story of submitting permits maybe a month before they actually did. Yeah. So given now, like I remember checking out the website for the city, and I never saw the actual application there, and I thought maybe I just didn't know what I was looking for. So I took my architect's word and said, and assumed that they had submitted the actual application, until I actually took the initiative to call the city, and they had told me that no application was actually submitted. So I bet at that point too, you could only guess how frustrated I was.
Yeah.
After they told me over three times that they were already submitted it and they were just waiting for the approval when the application was never actually submitted.
Right. Because you weren't able to continue construction or anything like that until you had the permit, right?
Exactly. And working with the plaza that I've been to, I would say I wouldn't say they're very sophisticated and very sticking by the rules, but they wanted to see that application at least in progress so I could start going in and doing the demo.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so since that was never the case, I was just letting my contractor know, hey, that yeah, we'll be ready to go once the application is visible on their end. So I just thought it was just a miscommunication somewhere in their systems.
Yeah.
Um, but I basically wasted a month's worth of time, or
Yeah.
maybe 3 weeks worth of time, where I could have got the contracting going earlier.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
but
And there's always going to be something when it comes to the construction
yep.
aspect of building a franchise, especially with this particular model. You have a brick and mortar that you got to build out. And but you were lucky enough, because I know that we talked about the place and the area that you were looking at, and it was a great location. Matter of fact, I think it was another type of gym
Yep.
that you just really had the opportunity to convert that, not convert that over, which probably wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the permitting, then you got architecture, you got all this stuff that you got going on. Now, do you during that induction process that you had, was any of this discussed by the franchisor that X, Y, and Z might happen? And if X, Y, and Z does happen, these are the resources that you need to take. Do we, and did they have that discussion, and did they provide any kind of insight to these concerns that you had or were going through?
Actually, no, they didn't. The actual permitting and architect, all this pre-operating
Right.
process wasn't discussed at all. It wasn't necessarily mentioned. It was just more so of you go into that training and from headquarters understanding that that's being taken care of already.
Hmm.
And there's no real training at all, other than maybe some few things to look out for and what to make sure gets done, what to make sure is included in certain contracts, but nothing to kind of let you know, hey, this is what you should look out for in case this issue occurs. This is what you need to do to kind
Yeah.
of make
Yeah.
sure you're staying on track.
Some franchisors have FBCs, franchise business consultants, that work with franchisees from day one,
Hmm.
all the way through the process, through the life cycle. Does F45 have something like that?
Yeah,
I
they
don't
do actually.
remember.
Yeah, they have what's called so they split it up into two separate things. They have an onboarding manager, one of which is primarily focused on getting your studio open. So
Mhm.
they do, I will say, provide a checklist at least of what you need to do to make sure your studio is good to go and running. There, she's really dialed in, at least my onboarding manager, and kind of letting me know what to look out for. I will say that it kind of did say that permitting may be an issue for you. Make sure that there's timelines at least in play, just
Mhm.
things, and then add a couple weeks.
Yeah.
um, and then they also have it on the performance side, kind of what to look out for in terms of sales to get your pre-sales going. And then that they hand that off to another performance manager that's focused on once you're open.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's hard um, for an FBC, franchise business consultant, to really kind of monitor, because usually they have in their portfolio, they probably have, like, they're probably working with 10 franchisees at all different phases of their onboarding.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to kind of manage everybody and everything. So um but yeah, no, it's interesting that a lot of this stuff initially, when you're going through, when you open up your first franchise, in the model, like building one actually,
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff that you probably think, oh man, I wish somebody would have told me that, or I wish that I can go to somebody and ask what that question is. But it's at the same time, like you said, you have a source that you can go to that maybe have a checklist, maybe kind of through experience from the other franchisees that were around, that can kind of give you insight of what they went through when they were building out their unit. But at the same time, a lot of the franchisees, I don't have that support from the franchisor, which is, I get it, but it's not really all the franchisors, responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They give you that platform, they give you everything you need, and then it's up to you to, just to use your business, acumen to and persistence to get things done. And but it's always good to have an FBC in my respect. I mean, I was one a long time ago, so I really love the fact that I would be able to go into somebody's unit and help them navigate through the process and help them go along there with them. That way they don't feel alone. Right. So
Right.
I don't think that I don't sense that you probably felt like you were by yourself, but I don't know. You tell me.
No, you're right. I completely agree with your observation, or I guess your whole understanding of what
Yeah.
they should be doing as in terms of a franchisor. I don't blame them one bit. In fact, there is that balance as well of they're giving me the platform and everything I need to be successful, and it's on me to take the initiative and figure out what to look for to be able to be successful, to be an entrepreneur, basically what I set out to do.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them at all. I think if anything, what I could have done better is ask maybe more questions, and I'm sure that they would have been more than willing to support in that aspect.
And I think you're absolutely right. Nobody expects you to know everything,
Right.
but where you are expected is to ask a ton of questions.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't hesitate. And no question is a stupid question.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the franchisees that are in this position sometimes get hung up on. I mean, trust me, I've talked to a lot of franchisees that were in your position under other different brands that were building their units the same way that you are. And a lot of them did it different ways. They were always blaming others for their problems, and never blaming themselves, because you said it perfectly. You got in it as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, and every business person, no matter or woman, no matter what business you get into, whether it's a franchise or not, you're going to run into some issues, and it's going to be up to you to creatively navigate through that process.
Right.
And you can't blame anybody but you, because you're the one who chose to get into it,
Exactly.
right. And but it's always good on the flip side. It's always good to have somebody that you can reach out to. That's why franchising is so great. That's why I love it, because you have resources to go to. And most people just don't, like I said, if they don't ask questions, they're not utilizing fully the resources the franchisor is providing.
Right. Precisely. Yeah.
You got the construction. How's that? Everything's pretty much all done with that?
Yeah, I would say basically once that equipment from the franchisor comes in, and this is going to be a fun day, I bet, because there's at least 5 to 7 pallets worth of equipment that they sent over. So if anyone's listening up in that Arizona area, if you want to help out for a day, there's a lot of pallet unloading that we're going to do off of their truck to get all that equipment in the actual studio. I know for a fact that all my staff is going to be there too, kind of helping us get this set up, and I can't wait to see some of the team try and set up a bike. I'm sure that'll be fun. But yeah, once that comes in, the contractors will be able to go ahead and put down the rubber mat flooring and kind of the turf and the internal signage up, so then we could be fully ready to go and have clients come in and start working out. So that's the only thing we're waiting on.
So the franchisor provides the vendor for all of the equipment. Is there anything outside of that you got to purchase your own?
There is actually. So one thing that I do have to purchase is the external signage. So basically the illuminated signage outside, which they have some requirements on what it needs to look like.
Right.
And then also some security cameras to make sure that I'm in compliance there. And then also the installation of the speaker and sound system inside the actual studio. They provide the speakers in that equipment pack, but I have to purchase the actual.
don't you guys doesn't the brand doesn't it require not require I guess, but you can have a DJ in there every so often, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's part of the fun,
That's
that's the
great.
fun part on Saturdays. We'll have some DJs in place, and it's a fun time actually. I've done it as a member, and it's pretty cool.
Hey
But
man, well maybe I might join you on those DJ days, you know.
yeah, for sure. I know once we our grand opening day, we're definitely gonna have a DJ there and have some fun stuff we're gonna give out.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely obviously be talking to you about that when that day comes, and we'll let all our Arizona listeners get into that, and maybe we can all head out over to your place and support you out there when you open it up, you know. So that'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun, yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think that so now, okay, so you mentioned earlier that you had a couple of employees, your staff. You said the word staff. So how does that look like? What did you hire? What do you have?
Yeah. So that was one of my hiring. Just a little bit of my corporate background. I've always hired
Yeah,
and been able to help out some staff come aboard. But this one was unique in terms of bringing in some staff, but also kind of leading them in the direction. There's no HR. I'm the HR and everything else. But and then I get to basically decide who's the best fit, not only for the company and my entity, but also someone that's going to drive the actual day to day. That's what I've brought in. So I brought in two things, one of which is the sales manager to get that revenue and get those pre-sales going. And I brought her in, I want to say a month ago from now.
sure.
So I think maybe a month and a half or so in November
Yeah,
is when I brought her on. And she's primarily focused on building the awareness in the area, building business to business relationships in the actual local community, and having those conversations with leads that come our way to let them know more about the brand and kind of the unique foundation members that we have.
right. So this person pre-sales now. How does that work when you don't have a gym to go to yet?
Yeah, that's a it's a challenge, but it also is an opportunity to kind of let the local community, let the local area, and that's really where relying on the franchisor and the franchise brand really helps out in this situation, because there is, at least from those individuals that know at least about a gym, they at least have some awareness of what the brand is. But what we do is basically allow members to let them know that one's coming to their community. So within that 5 to 7 mile radius, really go ahead and connect with individuals and tell them about the brand and what the actual purpose of this workout studio is. Even though we don't actually have a gym there ready to go and show people,
Yeah,
we could talk about it and we could let them know that this is the best time to sign up in terms of rates, because you're being a part of the actual process and you get to
right,
heavily give feedback on what you want to see in your own gym.
right.
So
And
that's how we're, go ahead.
so she's also it's marketing basically is what she's doing.
Basically, exactly. So she's doing marketing in the area. She's taking it on herself to go ahead and connect with apartment complexes in those areas, to hosting workouts at their complex, complimentary.
Nice. There you go.
Doing some workouts at the local parks, and then also the community centers. And that's how we're basically building that awareness, by allowing the community to know about the workouts, and it's
Mhm,
free.
mhm.
Um, it actually gives us a training opportunity for
Right.
coaches, but also to put a face to the people that are going to be opening up in their area.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. If she is doing this on her own and getting out there to create that awareness is great, because the franchisor can give you everything, but they can't give you the creative parts of what you need to do, and they can't really provide you with the right peer person. You got to determine that person,
Yep.
right? And getting somebody who's out there and to go get her and able to do all that is fantastic. A lot of franchisors wish that they had franchisees that would come in that would be as creative and going to going and looking out for these folks that can help them in their marketing side, because that's important. I mean, you are required under this brand, and I'm sure there's for sure under this brand to have so many memberships before you open up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So we have to have at least 150 to open up. So the earlier we could get on it to build awareness, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's important. I mean, because that is going to be your lifeblood. I mean, you're going to start to, start to gain revenue right away and then keep up that momentum. So that's great that they do that. And it's important to have somebody in that marketing department and that marketing role, that awareness role to get out there and hustle, and get the word out there. That's great, man. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And you said you had another person to coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So on one side, based on the org chart that I have set up, I have the sales manager, which we talked about. And then the other one is going to be a key part of the retention of the actual members in the studio. And that is the head trainer, head coach. And he is primarily focused on making sure that he's hiring the right coaches that will be a part of the studio, one where I've kind of shared my vision on what I want and what I'm looking for to be able to be successful, and kind of gathering his experience and his types of specialized training that he has, and kind of
Right.
us coming together on what we want to see, because ultimately he's going to be leading the team to be successful. So
Right.
that's where he started just this past week, and he's primarily focused on interviewing and building SOPs, some standard operating procedures on what the expectations are. So when coaches do come in, they kind of know ahead of time
Yeah.
what is expected.
Now, is the model, are they employees or are they contractors?
So I chose to bring them in as employees, so W-2 employees.
Okay.
And this is their full-time job and full-time
Wow. Okay.
thing. So big investment, but I think it's ultimately going to pay off significantly, not only for the studio, but for them in the long term.
Yeah, no, for sure. And does that particular brand allow contractors if needed?
Yeah, so they allow either one. They kind of don't. What's surprising to me is they didn't necessarily really touch on it much in induction, nor have
Interesting.
they kind of had many guidelines. At least from previous franchise experience, there at least is some kind of acknowledgement of what is the preference.
Yeah.
But I just chose full-time
W-2,
employees.
yeah, full-time
Yeah.
employees. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of those stuff. I mean, there is some franchisors that will get into it. And I know that, employee management tends to be that gray area with franchisors in a sense. So they probably don't want to touch that too much, but there is a way to talk to them about what is best based on best practices,
Right.
And again, every state's different. So it's always good to contact an employment attorney, accountant to figure out what's going to be the best route for you. But yeah, you're right. I think a lot of the information that you're going to get, I mean, when you're talking about employees, when you're talking about construction, when you're talking about, all these different things that are happening that you're experiencing now, that you're really not getting a full picture or a full understanding directly from the franchisor. The best source is other franchisees in the market, right? I mean, if you're referencing those and you're asking the questions to those folks that have been there and done it, they can probably give you some idea of what they did. And if it fits what you want to do, and it just seems like a good idea, that's a route you got to take, but, and I think that's, asking those questions, like I said before, but also asking the questions to the franchisor and then asking those questions to the franchisees, existing franchisees that are in your market. I think it's equally important as well to keep those people in on your Rolodex.
Exactly. I know there's a few, at least I made an initiative, at least on my end, to reach out to some of the local franchisees and just to introduce myself again, but also to kind of share their experience and how they've navigated through these last few months with our uncertain economic conditions.
Yeah. And I'm always, I'm an optimist first.
Right.
But
Yep.
I gotta say, there is some franchisees that are in the market that are not so, and I'm not saying this particular brand, but in others, in my experience, that are not so friendly to give information out.
Yeah, unfortunately that hasn't happened yet, but no, I know there's that competitive nature, especially
Yeah.
if you're kind of near their area where it could be a whole different conversation.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of, I mean, I've seen it in, in my past, and it's unfortunate that it does happen, but it's part of the deal, and but we won't get into that, because that's a whole other episode right there.
Yeah, definitely.
In dealing with that. But so guys, so it looks like you're really good. How far are you away from finishing off construction? Looks like you got your employees good, so you got them settled in, and you're working towards that minimum membership requirement that the brand has you do. When do you think you'll all be ready to go?
Yeah, so if I had to take an optimistic guess, I would, or not guess, more of a bet, trajectory based on projections. I would say about mid-February is the projected open
Yeah.
time frame, to where I'm fully open, and fully running, and it's a full-time studio, and ready to go. So I'm hoping that's the case. Hoping not to compete with the Super Bowl, since I'm down the street from that during that weekend. So I'll keep that in mind.
That is right. I mean, that could be a great opportunity or a curse.
Yep.
I forgot about that. You're right. That's February's football here in Arizona, in Glendale, Arizona. We're excited to have it here in our state of Arizona. So it's going to be a fun time, busy time for you, because you're right there. It's in your backyard.
Exactly. Yeah. And I keep remembering that'd be fantastic. My goal is to have some of the brand ambassadors for F45 and have them work out at our studio Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
But there's going to have to be good things to go in my way for that to happen. And they've been open to it. So I want to make sure to keep them to that.
Hey, maybe you can grab some Cardinal players, man, to hit over your gym, bro. Do some ad on there.
I know they'll be off that weekend, so we'll
that's right. Yeah, unfortunately, they're not going to be. They're going to be have some time in their hands. Unfortunately, yeah. Well, that's great, man. It looks like you're on track. It looks like you got everything going on that you wanted to be. Do you feel that you're following your timeline, as best as you can?
I do. If basically based on what has happened and some of the areas that were out of my control, I do feel that I am best at least sticking to the timeline. I know maybe a few months back I was aiming for the end of 2022 to be open, but there's definitely been some lessons learned that I've realized going through this process, kind of what we talked about already.
Yeah.
And then also some other banking follow-ups as well, that I've learned as just going through this SBA process. But overall, I'm sticking to it.
So what would be the best advice of somebody getting into it now that you're about a year into it now, right? Roughly?
Yeah, I'm about 6 months or so, I think, into it in total, timeline-wise, from when I signed the agreement.
Okay. All right. So 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell a franchisee that is saying, hey, Anthony, I want to open up a brick and mortar. What would you tell them to watch out for? What would you tell them or her, of the things, the critical points that you need to focus on?
Yeah. Just going through it, some of the things to look out for ahead of time, especially with that agreement, and once you sign it, that time clock starts ticking. I would say, to your best ability, have a lot of the leasing and things you want to see in a lease, have that work out maybe as close as you can to signing that agreement. In addition, if possible, having your floor plan architect work out prior to the actual lease being signed, or at least at that same period, because I had no idea how long it takes for drawings to occur.
Yeah.
At least with the particular architect that I had that I've been working with.
Right.
And that was a lot of the delay. Those impact your timeline on not only construction, but if you're going the SBA route, they impact that as well pretty significantly.
Yep.
And then you can't actually submit it up for permits until that's completed as well.
Right. Right.
So those would be the key factors, I would say, to really try and get done prior to signing that franchise agreement, or as close as you can to that, to kind of match the longest time frames up, kind of in the same time period.
Yeah. 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 Cause I mean, those are important key factors, because you're absolutely right. Once you sign that FA, the franchise agreement, the clock is ticking, like you said, and it's important to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. But if you knew what those ducks were to put in that row, a lot of our franchisees wouldn't be in the situation. It would be very easy, if we had this, crystal ball to tell us exactly what's happening. But I think that that's key, is having those areas in the process that are going to take time. Get those done right away.
Right.
Try to knock that off right away. And we're not even talking about the costs involved.
Exactly. The cost involved, they add up, and yeah, they do. So you hit it right on the head to be aware of those things.
Yeah. You got to be aware of the cost, and you have to have your ducks in a row. And as far as financially, we haven't even got into the loan process that you've gone through the SBA, because that is a chore in itself.
Mm-hmm.
That is a process in itself.
Right.
The paperwork and everything that goes along with that is pretty intense. And there's different stages, because as you probably you could probably explain this as well too, Anthony. They're not going to give you the money all in one shot. They give it to you in accordance of your construction and where you're at.
Right.
And so then every time that you got to report back, and you got to see where you're at and everything else, permits and things like that, all affects all that, right?
Exactly. You need to have at least for this particular, and I'm sure the other institutions is the same exact thing so this is kind of the challenge that I was going through here recently, was the bank won't loan or fund until the permits are done. The permits take a while from the city based on their own timeline. And if I'm not following up with the architect to make sure they're submitted, and then the contractor wants to get started, all of those areas at once, there's all these driving forces that are against each other and reliance on permits. And SBA is not going to actually do anything until they see that in hand, to get the ball rolling. So, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little things in between the big things that you gotta deal with and oversight. And I know, I mean, I don't want to get too much into this as well. But so when a franchisee is going through the process and has a 9-to-5 job in the middle of all this and trying to get this set up, it's not easy. Because your heart and your mind. I mean, when you're buying a business, it's like giving. I know us guys, we don't understand this, but we do understand the love behind it. When you give birth and finding a business and owning a business, it's the same thing. You're giving life to this business that you're doing. You're giving it all every day. Your mind. Every time you wake up, it's probably the first thing you think about. When you go to bed, it's probably the last thing you think about when you go to bed. And so it becomes a part of you. And every day you wake up and you have to go somewhere, but your mind and your heart is telling you probably should go be over here. It's a tough battle, but there is a time and a place, because you have to sacrifice, like everything, like being a parent, you got to sacrifice for your kids. So sometimes you got to do that. And I know that there is going to be a nice, end to the tunnel, once you're able to break free and start your business and get into it 100%. It's going to be just a great feeling when you're able to do that.
You're exactly right. Once I go to bed, wake up. First thing on my mind, obviously, is that business and getting it running and having that fully operational and doing what I foresee, at least vision wise, happening. But you're right, there are obligations that I have in place that I need to do. In the meantime, there's priorities that I have to take care of that consume the most valuable thing of time. And sometimes that little voice, which I'm sure you're aware of in the back of your head, is saying, "Oh, what's going on over there? Where
Yeah.
with my
Right.
franchise, and what could I be doing potentially right now
Right.
there?"
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But I mean, like anything, I think if you properly do due diligence and you're asking the right questions and continuously monitoring what you're doing, it'll all work out. You just there is going to come a time and a place where you got to make that decision. You got to there's that fork in the road, just like we all come up to fork in the road. And some of us have been more forks in the road than anybody else, right? But it's fun when you get to the point we make that decision to start a new career, a new path, and it's great. It's a great experience, really. Honestly, I've had the pleasure of having that experiences several times, and the privilege of being in that position. It's not easy. It's
Mhm.
stressful. It's hard, but very rewarding. And I think that's what's happening here. And I think you're doing a great job, Anthony, in setting things up and following your timeline and kind of going through it. And it's great. And I truly appreciate the fact that you're here telling us your story, so that other franchisees, potential franchisees, current franchisees that are going through what you're going through can kind of pick up on the little points here and there, that hopefully they won't have to go through the grit that you went through.
Yeah, no, it's been fun just kind of being able to reflect back and sharing it with maybe someone who might learn something. And one thing I did think of as well, just kind of what you had asked me, a few things to consider was following up with the people that you hire to
Yeah.
bring you along this journey is another key area, which for me, I didn't want to feel like a pest, but I realized since I've been continuously following up within these last 3, 4 weeks with a lot of the people that I basically hired to do a job, the timeline has increased dramatically in terms of how quick things are turned around. So that's a lesson I learned as well,
Yeah.
is continuously following up, seeing what the status is on things, because you don't want to be forgotten and kind of put in the shadow, and you want to make sure your project gets taken care of.
Well, yeah, and you don't want exactly. You don't want your employees to feel like they're secondary or they're not important, or why isn't he or she calling me
Right.
to check up on me? And they want you to active along with them. They want to for you to see what they've done, what they've achieved, and what they've accomplished, right?
Yeah.
Because they may not have skin in the game,
Right.
but if they're good people, they're going to be proud of their work and happy to get this accomplished and done for you,
Yeah.
and because at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only for these employees, they're doing something that they like in their industry, but also, um, as painstakingly as it may be, but some of the like architects and banks, if you do the same thing there, they'll actually move quicker, surprisingly. So,
Yeah, no, exactly.
which is great.
Yeah, it is. It's funny once everything it's in sync. You know, put that grease in that wheel.
Mhm.
It starts to really move quickly, and the next thing you know, you're like, wow, okay, we're here. This
Yep.
is great. Now I got to do what now? All right, well, let's get this party going. And it's fun to get to that point, and it's exciting to get to that stage of the game. Yeah, Anthony, I think you, like I said, you're doing a great job. I appreciate the opportunity for you to be here and share your story with us. I can't wait. I think we're due again in March, right? Yeah, March.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. March. Exciting. Hopefully, I'm open by then, and
yeah,
we'll
hopefully you're
go
open.
there.
And hopefully what we'll do in March, we'll be talking about your grand opening in February, roughly.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about that. Maybe if it works out for us to do a live show from your location, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, cool.
That would be fantastic. So So again, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. I know we're running out of time here, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, Louis, appreciate the chat. Always a pleasure. I can't wait till next time.
All right, man. You take care. Have a great Sunday.
Take care. Merry Christmas and have a happy New Year.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Way before that.
Yep.
Take care, Anthony. Thank you for a great update. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. Looking forward to your end of February grand opening. For all our Arizona listeners, if you can, as soon as I get the details of that, the time and the date, we can go out and support Anthony in his grand opening. Be greatly appreciated. I know that I will be there with my Z to Z team, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe do a possible live broadcast from his grand opening. Anyways, Anthony, again, thank you and Happy New Year to yourself and your family, sir. To everybody else, I appreciate your support for this year. I know that it's been a lifelong dream of mine to put something like this together, and I did it in 2022 and was able to do that with the support of my friends and family, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of myself with you on a weekly basis. So thank you very much, and Happy New Year from myself and from the team at Z to Z. And as always, you can take a look at previous episodes at www.z2z.com. That's Z2ZEE.com, or on your favorite podcast platform, including Spotify. So everybody have a great and safe new year. Enjoy the time with your friends and family, and we will see you next year. Take care. Bye-bye.